In the quiet ecosystem of the Collins family, 20-year-old Ethan moved like a lion. He was a star athlete, a college student, a young man radiating the effortless confidence of someone for whom the world had always made way. His younger brother, 14-year-old Noah, was, in Ethan's eyes, a different species entirely. Noah was quiet, artistic, and gentle, and he had a slight stutter, a small hesitation in his speech that, for his older brother, had become a target, a weakness to be exploited for a quick, cruel laugh. Ethan's mockery was a constant, casual poison in their home. He would mimic Noah's stumbles, roll his eyes when he struggled to get a word out, and dismiss his artistic passions as a waste of time. Their father, Mr. Collins, a man who defined strength not by muscles but by character, had noticed the dynamic and had given his older son stern warnings. Warnings Ethan had chosen to ignore. The moment that shattered the family's fragile peace came on a Tuesday afternoon. Noah returned home from a local student art show, his face glowing with a pride that was rare and beautiful. He was clutching a framed painting of a serene forest landscape, and pinned to the corner of the frame was a small, vibrant blue ribbon. First place. It was the first time his talent had ever been publicly recognized. He found Ethan in the living room, lounging on the sofa with a jock from his college team. "Ethan, look," Noah said, his voice a mixture of excitement and his usual slight hesitation. I won." Ethan glanced up from his phone, a condescending smirk already forming. He looked at the painting, then at the ribbon, then at his brother's hopeful face. "Wow," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You won a ribbon for drawing some trees. That's really something," his friend snickered. Noah's smile faltered, but he held the painting out. "The JJ judge said I have a real eye for color." That was the opening Ethan was waiting for. He leaned forward, his face a mask of cruel mockery, and mimicked his brother's stutter with brutal exaggeration. Did he now, Noah? That's JJ just great." He and his friend burst into loud, callous laughter. The light in Noah's eyes died. The pride, the joy, the rare moment of triumph, it all crumbled into dust under the weight of his brother's cruelty. He didn't cry. He didn't say a word. He just clutched his painting to his chest, turned, and walked silently to his room, the sound of his brother's laughter following him down the hall. But they were not the only ones in the room. Mr. Collins had been standing in the adjoining dining room, just out of sight, having come home early to surprise his younger son. He had seen the whole thing. He had seen the pure joy on Noah's face, and he had witnessed, with a slow burning fury, the way his older son had deliberately and maliciously extinguished it. He waited, his face a mask of stone, until Ethan's friend had finally said his goodbyes and left the house. As the front door closed, Ethan was still smirking, still replaying his witty, cruel performance in his mind. He turned and saw his father standing there. The smirk vanished from his face. His father's expression was one he had never seen before, a quiet, controlled rage that was far more terrifying than any shouting. "You think that was funny, Ethan?" his father asked, his voice low and dangerous. "You think it is funny to break your brother's heart?" He pointed up the stairs. "Go to your room, and wait for me." The quiet command was not a suggestion. It was an order, delivered with the full weight of a father's righteous anger. Ethan, his arrogance finally stripped away, was left with only the cold, sickening feeling of dread as he walked up the stairs to await his judgment. Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, the silence of his room a stark contrast to the storm of shame and fear churning inside him. The door opened, and his father entered. He wasn't yelling. He was holding Noah's award-winning painting in one hand. He walked over to Ethan's desk, cleared a space among the sports trophies and clutter, and placed the painting there facing his son. "Look at it, Mr. Collins said, his voice quiet but hard as steel. "Look at the one pure, proud thing your brother had today, and then look at me and tell me what you see." Ethan couldn't meet his father's eyes. "Dad, I'm sorry. It was just a joke." "A joke?" his father countered, his voice sharp with a pain that was both fresh and ancient. "You have been mocking your brother's speech, his one true vulnerability, for years. I have warned you. I have told you that true strength protects, it doesn't prey. And today, on the proudest day of his young life, you chose to be a predator. You used your brother's heart as a punchline for a cheap laugh. That is not a joke, Ethan. That is the act of a coward." He walked over to his own bedroom and returned. A moment later, he was holding the thick, heavy leather belt he wore with his suits. "You seem to only understand the language of brute force and humiliation," he said, his voice now grim with a sad resolve. "So, I will speak to you in a language you will understand. You need to feel a fraction of the hurt you so casually inflict on your brother every single day." He pointed to the end of the bed. "You will bend over the foot of this bed." Now, Ethan was shaking, his face flushed with a shame so intense it felt like he couldn't breathe. He knew he had gone too far. He knew he had earned this. With tears of humiliation already welling in his eyes, he did as he was told. The first strike of the belt was a loud, shocking crack that echoed with the cruelty of his own laughter. He cried out, a raw gasp of pain that he had not expected. That, his father's voice said, firm and clear, is for the mockery. Crack. The second blow was even harder, a powerful, stinging lesson. That is for the shame you caused him. Crack. The third and final strike was a definitive, humbling impact that broke him. He was sobbing now, not just from the fiery, intense pain, but from the crushing weight of his own cruelty. Now, his father said after a long moment, "Your real lesson begins." The punishment was not over. It was just changing form. First, his father commanded, "You will go to your brother's room, and you will apologize. Sincerely. No excuses." The apology was agonizing. Noah was sitting on his bed, his painting, on his lap silently crying. Ethan, his voice thick with his own tears, stammered out his regret. When he returned, his father laid out the rest of the terms. "That painting," he said, pointing to the desk, "will be professionally framed at your expense, and it will hang in the most prominent spot in our living room, where every guest can see it. Second, your social life is on hold. For the next month, you will be your brother's speech partner. Every evening, for 30 minutes, you will sit with him, and you will patiently help him practice the speech therapy exercises we have been encouraging him to do. You will engage with the very struggle you once found so funny." The following weeks were a humbling re-education. Ethan sat with Noah every night, listening, encouraging, never once interrupting when he stumbled. He learned about the courage it took for his brother to simply speak a sentence. He saw the incredible talent in Noah's art, and the deep, quiet strength in his character. The arrogant athlete began to see his quiet, artistic brother not as a target, but as someone to be admired. A month later, the newly framed painting hung proudly above the fireplace. Noah was preparing for a small presentation at his art class, and he was practicing his speech in front of Ethan. He stumbled over a word, paused, took a breath, and continued, his voice getting stronger. Ethan didn't smirk. He didn't roll his eyes. He just gave his little brother a quiet, supportive nod. "You got this," he said. Their father stood in the doorway, watching unseen. The sting of the belt had been a necessary, painful fire to burn away the cruelty. But the real change had come here, in the quiet moments of forced empathy, where the bully had finally been replaced by a brother.